There's a moment in life when you pause and think, how did I end up here? You're working, moving, trying, doing everything you're supposed to do, yet something still feels misaligned. Like you slipped into a version of life you never consciously chose. And here's the truth most people never hear. It's not that you lack discipline, ambition, or clarity. It's that you've been living inside a psychological stage you didn't even know existed. If you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or quietly disconnected from your potential, this might explain everything. Because the stages we move through in life aren't obvious. They're hidden, shaped by beliefs you inherited, habits you never questioned, and patterns you've repeated for so long they started to feel like you. And once you finally see these stages, you see why your productivity rises and crashes, why your mindset struggles to shift, and why your personal growth hits the same invisible ceiling again and again. But here's the part that hits the hardest. Most people don't get stuck in the beginning, they get stuck in the wrong stage entirely. The stage where comfort masquerades as progress, where noise feels like purpose, and where years can disappear without you noticing. So before we dive in, ask yourself one question. What if you've outgrown the stage you're living in? Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress. Let's begin. Life has always been far simpler than most people want to believe. But humans have this strange habit of turning the obvious into a puzzle, as if every answer needs a hidden formula to feel valuable. They ignore what's basic because they assume it can't be that easy, and in doing so, they sabotage their productivity, their mindset, and even the foundations of real self-development. The irony? Most of the powerful life lessons are hiding in the things they already know, but refuse to practice. Tell someone that 80% of their peace would come from sleeping better, drinking water, and saying no more often, and they'll roll their eyes. Simple doesn't look glamorous. It doesn't give that ego-boosting illusion of complexity. Yet simplicity is exactly what strengthens mental focus, emotional balance, and effective time management. The body, the mind, the entire universe operates through simple principles. It's people who create unnecessary complications. And when someone finally realizes that life doesn't demand constant brilliance, but small conscious choices repeated over time, something shifts inside them. They begin to understand that they don't need a library of philosophies to learn how to live better. They just need to apply what they already know. And once this truth sinks in, well, that's when the real journey begins, one that naturally leads into a deeper paradox they've been living without even noticing. The more someone tries to force an outcome, the faster it slips through their fingers. That's the heart of the effort paradox. The harder you chase happiness, love, or peace, the more they pull away. It's why people who obsess over productivity often feel burned out, and why those who cling to results ruin their own mindset. Life has this counterintuitive rhythm. Desperation repels, while grounded action attracts. It's one of those life lessons that everyone learns the hard way. Think about it. The person who's desperate for a relationship usually pushes people away. The person who's desperate for success often makes frantic decisions that sabotage their own personal growth. And the person who begs for sleep at night tosses and turns even more. That's the backwards law in motion. It doesn't ask you to stop trying. It asks you to stop gripping outcomes like a closed fist trying to hold water. The tighter the grip, the faster the loss. The solution is action without attachment. Do the work, but don't bleed your identity into the result. Want a practical example? Someone building discipline can focus on showing up for 10 minutes a day instead of obsessing over perfect performance. Someone struggling with time management can organize their morning, not their entire life. When they loosen the emotional pressure, life responds differently. And that quiet shift naturally leads them to the next illusion they try to control without noticing. The more someone tries to control every detail of life, the more life reveals how uncontrollable it actually is. It's like holding water in your hands. The instinct is to squeeze harder, but that only makes it escape faster. People convince themselves that control equals safety, yet this obsession destroys mental focus, drains productivity, and cripples personal growth. Real stability doesn't come from tightening your grip. It comes from understanding what you were never meant to hold. The Stoics were right. A person can only control their actions and reactions, nothing more. Weather, traffic, people's opinions, unpredictable changes, none of that belongs in their hands. When someone tries to micromanage everything, they fall into a loop of anxiety, frustration, and self-blame. A practical example? Someone trying to control how others perceive them will constantly censor themselves and lose authenticity. But someone who focuses on their own behavior naturally earns respect without chasing it. The key is shifting attention from the sphere of concern to the sphere of influence. Instead of worrying about the entire month, they can control their morning routine. Instead of fearing judgment, they can control their preparation. Instead of trying to predict the future, they can control how they show up today. This mindset doesn't just improve time management, it frees the mind to focus on what actually moves life forward. And that clarity opens the door to another truth happening inside them every night, even when they're not aware of it. Most people think sleep is passive, but the brain treats it like a night shift, a critical one. While the body rests, the mind goes into deep maintenance mode, flushing out toxins and restoring the systems responsible for mental focus, memory, and emotional stability. Skip a good night's sleep, and your brain wakes up with metabolic trash clogging its circuits. No wonder productivity collapses, and even basic time management feels impossible the next day. During deep sleep, cerebrospinal fluid literally washes through the brain, clearing waste that builds up while you're awake. It's like your mind's own cleaning crew, working in silence. That's why people who brag about sleeping 4 hours aren't winning. They're operating with a foggy mindset and slower cognitive processing. Want a real-life example? A person trying to learn a new skill will retain far less if they sacrifice sleep for grinding, even if they believe discipline means staying up late. The truth is simple. Sleep isn't a luxury, it's biological infrastructure. It's the foundation of sharp thinking, emotional resilience, and long-term personal growth. And when someone begins to treat rest as fuel instead of weakness, their clarity skyrockets. They make better decisions, their self-development accelerates, and life becomes easier to navigate. And once they experience this mental clarity, another chase begins, one that traps almost everyone without them realizing it. The strange thing about happiness is that the harder someone chases it, the farther it runs. It's like trying to grab fog with your hands. The more you reach, the less you hold. This is the happiness trap, mistaking happiness for a destination instead of what it truly is, a side effect. People chase pleasure, new achievements, new dopamine spikes, believing it will upgrade their mindset or elevate their personal growth. But happiness isn't something you hunt. It's something you notice when you stop sprinting. The brain naturally adapts to both highs and lows, the hedonic treadmill, that dream job, that new relationship, that shiny goal. Within weeks, the emotional spike levels out and the person returns to their baseline. This is why people who obsess over feeling happy all the time sabotage their own self-development. A more grounded approach is shifting focus to progress, connection, and contribution. For example, someone volunteering once a week or building a daily practice, like journaling or reading 10 pages, often feels happier without trying to force it. The paradox is simple. The less someone needs to be happy, the more happiness shows up. It grows in the background of a meaningful life, not in the spotlight of constant pursuit. When someone embraces discipline, improves their time management, and aligns their actions with their values, happiness becomes a natural byproduct. And once they grasp this truth, they begin to see that the real enemy isn't the lack of happiness, but the hidden biases running quietly inside their own brain. The human brain isn't built to seek truth. It's built to seek patterns that help us survive. And that means everyone walks around with a mind full of shortcuts, distortions, and invisible filters. These biases shape decisions, reactions, and even a person's mindset without them realizing it. Confirmation bias makes them cling to beliefs, loss aversion makes them fear change, and the illusion of superiority convinces them they're above average. All of this sabotages self-development, productivity, and personal growth in subtle, quiet ways. Think about confirmation bias. Someone believes they're bad at time management, so they selectively notice every late day and ignore every moment they were actually organized. Or loss aversion. The fear of losing money stops them from making an investment that could improve their future. These biases create mental blind spots, and acknowledging them isn't weakness, it's power. It's choosing mental focus over mental autopilot. A person who can say, maybe I'm wrong, grows 10 times faster than the one who refuses to question their own thinking. While no one can shut off biases completely, they can shine a light on them. Awareness is the superpower. The moment someone questions their assumptions, everything shifts. They start making decisions based on clarity, not ego. They listen better, judge less, and learn faster. This opens the door to a deeper truth. If the brain is this biased in thinking, imagine what happens when emotions take over. And that's exactly where the next insight reveals something most people never notice. 90% of decisions come from emotion and only 10% from logic, even if people swear they're rational. The emotional brain processes information hundreds of thousands of times faster than the logical one, meaning most choices are made before someone even knows they're choosing. The rational mind just narrates the story afterward. This explains why discipline breaks, why productivity collapses, and why someone with a strong mindset can still feel pulled off track by impulses they barely understand. Imagine someone scrolling through their phone instead of working. It's not laziness, it's their emotional brain craving relief. Or someone overreacting to a small comment, not because it's logical, but because an old emotional trigger got activated. Understanding this doesn't make a person weaker, it makes them sharper. A simple pause, 3 deep breaths, a walk around the room, a moment of awareness can shift them from emotional autopilot to intentional action. That pause is where self-development truly begins. Emotions aren't commands, they're data. When someone treats them like signals instead of orders, they regain control over time management, conversations, habits, and reactions. They stop letting fear dictate decisions and start moving toward what actually matters. And the moment a person realizes how much emotion shapes their life, another truth surfaces. If feelings can influence actions this strongly, imagine what happens when memory itself is bending, twisting, and rewriting the story they believe about who they are. Memory isn't a recording, it's a reconstruction. Every time someone remembers an event, the brain rewrites it slightly, filling gaps, adjusting details, and reshaping the story to fit their current identity. It's unsettling, but it explains why people cling to narratives that hurt their personal growth or limit their mindset. They're not remembering the event, they're remembering the last version of the memory, and often that version is influenced by fear, bias, or emotion, not truth. Think about childhood memories that feel crystal clear, yet siblings remember them totally differently. Or how someone can rewrite a breakup as all my fault, even when the reality was far more complex. The brain edits for meaning, not accuracy. This is why one person believes they're bad at relationships or terrible at productivity, not because it's true, but because a distorted memory became a self-fulfilling loop. When someone understands this, they can intentionally reshape narratives. Journaling, therapy, or even revisiting an old memory with a calmer perspective. And here's the opportunity. If memories are malleable, then identity is too. Someone can choose which parts of their past to amplify and which to release. They can reinterpret failure as education, rejection as redirection, and mistakes as proof of courage. This ability to rewrite personal history shifts everything in self-development and mental focus. And when they embrace this power, a new question emerges. If the stories they believe can shape their life so deeply, what about the tiny actions that shape their outcomes even more? Life isn't symmetrical. A small percentage of actions create most of the results. That's the 80-20 principle. 20% of effort drives 80% of progress, whether someone notices it or not. In self-development, the few habits done consistently matter far more than the long list of things someone plans to do. In relationships, a handful of people provide most of the joy. And in productivity, a few high-impact tasks move life forward, while the rest is just noise wearing a disguise of importance. A practical example? Someone spends 2 hours organizing files and checking emails, but only 15 minutes on the task that actually grows their career. Or someone wastes energy on draining relationships but neglects the 2 people who genuinely support their personal growth. Once someone identifies their vital 20%, everything changes. They realize they don't need more time. They need better time management. They don't need a bigger to-do list. They need a sharper filter. The real mastery is cutting the 80% that clutters the mind. That means saying no more often, choosing what truly aligns with the life they want, and focusing on habits that actually upgrade their mindset and mental focus. When they do this, life gets lighter, simpler, and more intentional. And once someone starts eliminating the noise, something powerful happens. They begin to notice the behaviors they repeat without thinking, especially the ones that run on autopilot. Most people think they have bad habits, but what they actually have are successful habit loops producing the wrong outcomes. Every habit has the same structure: cue, routine, reward. The cue isn't the enemy, and the reward isn't the problem. The routine in the middle is what trips them up. This is why someone can sabotage their productivity or mindset without even noticing. Their brain is running on autopilot, repeating patterns it believes will bring relief or comfort. Take stress as an example. The cue might be anxiety after a long day. The reward is relief. But the routine, eating junk food, doom scrolling, or procrastinating, actions that weaken discipline and slow personal growth. If they simply swap the routine, everything changes. Instead of snacking, they do 20 push-ups. Instead of scrolling, they take a quick walk. Same cue, same reward. But a different routine that boosts their self-development rather than sabotaging it. That's how habit loops work. Subtle, powerful, and incredibly rewritable. The beauty of this system is that no one needs to delete habits. The brain doesn't work like a delete button. They just rewrite the middle step. A person who wants better time management can anchor a cue, like opening the laptop, with a new routine like planning the next 10 minutes. Over time, small swaps produce massive upgrades in mental focus. And once someone masters this, they unlock a deeper secret of growth. Because if a tiny routine can change a day, imagine what happens when tiny improvements compound over a year. Big transformations rarely come from big moves. They come from tiny improvements repeated long enough to become undeniable. That's the compound effect. A simple 1% upgrade each day makes someone 37 times better by the end of the year. Most people overestimate what they can accomplish in a day and underestimate what they can build in 12 months. This is why self-development looks slow from the outside, but explosive in hindsight. Discipline and consistency quietly outperform intensity every single time. Think about money. Saving a small amount daily feels irrelevant, until it becomes a surprisingly large amount. The mind works the same way. Reading 10 pages a day doesn't seem life-changing, until it reshapes someone's mindset, vocabulary, confidence, and mental focus. Doing a 5-minute cleanup at night doesn't feel like productivity, until it makes the next morning easier. This principle applies everywhere: relationships, health, skills, time management. Small choices compound, small mistakes do too. And here's the warning most people ignore. The compound effect works in reverse. Missing one workout becomes 3. One distracted morning becomes a scattered week. One "I'll do it later" becomes a lifestyle. That's why systems matter more than goals. Systems create momentum, even on low motivation days. And if the listener feels stuck in cycles of inconsistency, scattered weeks, chaotic routines, digital overload, that's exactly why tools like the digital hangover system exist, to help them reset their mind, reorganize their week, and regain control before those tiny choices pile up into something harder to fix. Because once someone understands how compound growth works, they're finally ready to step into the next stage of life with intention. In the end, life isn't about finding yourself like some lost object waiting in a corner of the world. It's about creating yourself, stage by stage, choice by choice. You've just seen how your mindset, your habits, your time management, and your mental focus quietly shape the stage you live in. Now the real question is, what are you going to do with this? Stay in the same script or start writing a new one? Remember the master code we talked about, even if between the lines. 1. Accept what you can't control, almost everything outside you. 2. Master what you can control, your actions, reactions, discipline, and attention. 3. Stack small improvements every day, Let the compound effect work in your favor. You don't need a perfect plan to start your self development journey. You just need one honest decision. Refuse to stay stuck in the wrong stage. You have the manual now. The rest is execution. So ask yourself, which stage are you really in? And what's the 1% shift you're willing to make this week to move to the next one? Drop your answer in the comments. Don't just watch this, engage with it. If this video helped you see your life differently, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next life lessons on how to live better with more productivity, personal growth, and clarity. And if you're serious about protecting your growth, your next step is crucial. Watch Stop Talking, Start Growing: The Invisible Power of Inner Focus. Understanding the stages is powerful, but if you don't learn how to guard your focus from noise, you'll slide back into the same patterns. That's why I made that video for you. Stay quiet, stay sharp, stay in progress.